Hello everybody. So this is going to be a review for our module test, and if you're using this video tonight in order to study, good for you. This will give you a good idea of what you're going to be seeing for the test, and it's going to give you a little of a refresher on what you will be seeing on the module test. All right, let's go into finding and comparing fractions by selecting greater than, less than, or equal to. And so we're going to be using common denominators in order to find which fraction is greater. And so let's look into 3/5 and 4/7. I'm going to be rewriting these as 3/5 and 4/7. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using multiplication here in order to find which fraction is greater, 3/5 or 4/7. It's really hard for us to see which one is greater, and so what we're going to be focusing on is using multiplication. So I'm going to be working with 3/5, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using multiplication in order to find the fraction. And I'm going to be using the sevenths. I'm going to use this denominator to multiply. And we're going to be multiplying that denominator by 3/5. So I should be able to get 21/35 here. And we're going to do the same thing for 4/7. I'm going to be using the other fractions denominator to multiply. So I'm going to be using this fifth. I'm going to be multiplying 4/7 times 5. And so I should get the same denominator here. So I'm going to get 20/35. Amazing. Good. So it looks like 4/7 is going to be less than 3/5. This is 3/5 is closer to a whole by just one in the numerator. So 3/5 is greater than 4/7. And that is our answer. Let's do let's just do a little bit more practice where we have 3/7 and 2/6. We can't really tell, so I'm going to be using multiplication in order to just find out. So we have 3/7. I am going to be using multiplication, so I'm going to use the other denominator, the sixths, and I'm going to be multiplying it by 3/7, and so I should get 18/42. I'm going to be doing the same thing to 2/6. I'm going to be doing the same thing to 2/6. I'm going to be multiplying it by this seventh here. And we should get 14/40. All right, we have the same denominators, but we can see that 18/40 is closer to the whole by 4 at least. So 3/7 is larger than 2/6. So boom, there we go. That is our answer. Let's do one more, and then we'll be done with finding fractions that are greater, less than, or equal to using common denominators. So let's do 5/8. And maybe you should be able to do this one on your own to start. So I'm going to start with 5/8. I can do the math below. I'm going to work with 5/8. I'm going to use multiplication in order to solve. But I'm going to be using this ninth in order to find my common denominator. So 45. And then we have 72. I'm going to be using 6/9. And I'm going to be using this eighth here to multiply. And boom, there's this eighths. And that gives me 40. Oh, sorry. I did this wrong. This is supposed to be 6/9. multiplied by the 8th. There we go. So it's supposed to be 48, 72. So 6/9 is 6/9 is going to be the greater fraction here. So we're going to be using our greater sign. All right, and that's all the practice we really need for finding which fraction, or comparing the two fractions by writing greater than, less than, or equal to signs on the line. So this is what you'll be doing for your module test, using and finding common denominators. All right, the next thing you're going to be working on, just as a reminder, is using number bonds to decompose and find the difference between mixed numbers and fractions. And so what we can do here is we can use just standard algorithm in order for us to understand how to find the difference. So let's go through each one just as a quick reminder. I have 1 6/8 subtracting 7/8. This does not work. We cannot do it. We cannot subtract because we have 6 and 7. If I have 6 marbles and I want to subtract 7, we do not have enough. So in order for us to work on this problem, we have to unbundle. This is 0 now, and this 6/8 is now going to increase by 8/8 because that whole that we subtracted and converted to 8/8, now we add it to 6/8. So this is going to change to 14/8, and now we can subtract 14. We now can subtract 14 and 7, and that gives us 7/8, which is our answer. Nice. All right, let's do the same thing for D. So let's go 1 whole, 1/10, subtract 7/10. Again, we don't have enough here. We have to unbundle. So we're going to unbundle the whole, and we're going to add 10/10 to this, which will make it 11. And now we have 11/10, subtract 7/10, and our answer is going to be 4/10. Nice. And let's get one more practice in. So let's, we have 1 whole, we have 3/12, subtract 6/12. We're going to unbundle, makes it 0. We're going to add 12/12 to 13. So we're going to add 12 to this, so that's going to change it to 15/12. And now we have 15/12. Subtract 6/12, which is going to be 9/12, which is our answer. All right. So this is just a little reminder on how to solve. If we do get any problems that have mixed numbers, we can solve, and I want you to do this with me. When we have like 3 1/3 subtract 1 whole and 3 or 2/3, we just line it up the way that we just did. So we'll rewrite it as 3 1/3 subtract 1 and 2/3. I'm still going to unbundle, so this becomes 2. This becomes, I add 3/3 to this, okay, which is 4/3. So I can erase this. I know that this is 4/3, so I'm just going to write a 4. And now 2 subtract 1 is 1 whole, and 4 subtract 2 is 2/3. All right, that's it. So this is it for subtracting mixed numbers and subtracting fractions, or subtracting mixed numbers and subtracting mixed numbers. All right, we're going to be continuing on. You're also going to get a question where you have to make a number line, and you have to chart the heights that are shown in feet with football players, or you have to chart the information, plot it in a number line. So you're going to be asked to do this, and we did this in lesson 40 in our problem set. So we're going to go over it one more time. So let's plot these heights, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. So we're going to make a number line. And this number line, I know is really difficult for some of you to start out. But what you need to see is look at the wholes first. We got to put our whole numbers first. So let's look at the whole numbers. What is our smallest whole number that we see on this number line? It looks like 5. See? We have 5 here. So we are going to start with 5. We're going to start with 5 whole. Now, what is the next whole that we see? Oh, we see 6 whole. Now, a lot of you are going to place 6 whole at the end. We don't want to do that because you can see next to the 6 whole are fractions. Fractions. So that this 6 whole it's actually a little larger than 6 whole. Some of these are going to get really, really close to 7 whole. So we want to place that 6 in the middle and have 7 whole as at the end, because I don't see 7 whole, but this it could possibly get to 7 whole depending on what the fraction looks like. It'd be 6 8/8. So we need to have 6 in the middle and 7 whole at the end. So let's start. Oh, we can't start plotting until we have our denominator. So what are we going to cut this into? I see a lot of different denominators. I see fourths. I see eighths. I see halves. I see fourths. I see eighths. 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 And I see eighths again. We're going to want to put this into eighths because I know that fourths can be converted to eighths, and so can halves. So I'm going to cut this into eighths. So 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 8/8. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 8/8. So now that we have it cut into eighths, we are able to plot. So let's start with A. I am going to be looking at A, and we are at 6 1/4. 6 1/4. I know that 6 2/8, which would be right here, 6 2/8, I know that if I had 1/4 and I multiply by 2, it would equal 2/8. So 1/4 and 2/8 are the same fraction. So 6 2/8, this is A. That's where A goes. All right, let's look at 5 7/8. Well, that's not too bad. I have 5 7/8 right here, and that's where B is going to go. Let's try 6 1/2. So you should know that 6 1/2 is 4/8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 1/2 is 4/8, because if we have 4/8 and if we divide it by 2, it's going to equal 1/2. Or that's actually going to equal 2/4. But if it's going to equal 2/4. But I also know that 2/4 is 1/2. No, sorry, it's going to equal. Sorry, if I cut this in half, it's going to equal 2/4 or 1/2. So I know that C goes here in the number line. And I want you to plot the rest here. Seeing that you have 6 1/4, let's just do 6 1/4 to get it out of the way. Oh, looks like 6 1/4 is on top of A as well. Because if I had 2/8 and divided it, by 2, it would be 1/4. And the final thing we're going to be working on is multiplication. So multiplying whole numbers by fractions and multiplying whole numbers with mixed numbers. So let's start out and zoom in. Let's just get some practice in again of how to multiply. So if I have 5 times 2/3, you're going to be multiplying the numerator. So it is going to be 10/3. And to find the mixed number, we can skip count here. Or you can use the number bond. It is up to you on how you want to solve. But I have 3/3, 6/3, 9/3, and I'm going to have a tiny 1/3 left over. So this is going to be 3 and 1/3. Now, going to the next one, 11 times 5/6. This is going to become 55/6. So you're not going to want to use the number bond on this. This is going to take too long. So what we can do is we can skip count. I'm going to do 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 49, and 54. Well, not 49, sorry. 48 and 54. Oh, wow, I get really close. So 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, and 6. So 54/6 is what we can take out and get as close to, and that is 9 whole. So that's awesome. And what do I need left to get to 55/6 is just a little 1/6. So we have 9 whole here. So 9 whole and 1/6 left over. Awesome. This is perfect. Now, what I want you to do though is I know that we have some room here. I want us just to try multiplying and using the distributive property, what we just practiced. So one more thing before we end this review. So remember, with the whole number versus or multiply by a mixed number, we are using distributive property. So let's use distributive property in order to solve. So it's going to be 3 times 2 plus 3 times 5/8. And we're going to get 6 whole plus 15/8. And I have to make this a mixed number. So I know I can take 8/8 away. And I'm going to have 7/8 left. So my answer is going to be 6 whole plus 1 whole and 7/8. And that equals 7 whole and 7/8. Okay? Do not forget distributive property for multiplication and multiplying whole numbers and mixed numbers. All right, that is a lot of what you'll see on the module test. And I hope that you looked at this video to study, and I hope it went well for you. All right, everybody, have a fantastic day.